Yes, we give, there are certain things which we don't touch. That means we are specializing in the stones I mentioned to you, or we're not specializing in opal. If somebody calls and wants an opal, we give him an address of an opal dealer here in Kirschweiler or somewhere else. And this is also nice, and they send us people if they need a tourmaline. And this is still some people, they are specializing in certain items, and we are doing in other things. So we are sending people, or we are sending customer to our friends, or even to our competitors. There is big competition, and and there will be, and they have, things are a little bit easier for them. Because in Germany, we are very good in cutting and all these things, and we are buying for the same price. But we are having, the developed countries have too much or too high taxes. And people, I don't want to say now the countries, but you know what I mean. They are in other countries. They pay less taxes, and they could be ahead of us because they can be a little bit. In prices, then they can have better prices than we because they sell less tax. Tax is a problem for all developed, all of the states, or England, or France, or Germany. It's as it is. We cannot change it, but it's an advantage for the other countries, paying less taxes. We used to have an office in Hong Kong, and doing very well with the people or with the countries around Hong Kong, and we had the office for about 6-8 years. And then in the currency crisis in '97, we had to close because there was no business. There was no business in Hong Kong. The Japanese did not come, and so on. That's why we closed it. And we were thinking about opening here and there, but then we gave up. It's better. People are still coming here, and but it was not the main thing. And in the States, we do not want to open an office because in the States it's better if you come from Germany. Then you are an exotic person, and you are more interested than the guy who lives next door to you. No. But as I said, States, #1 market for us. I think the best age for Ida was the time between 1900 and 1914. Before the First World War, Ida had 40 millionaires. There was the city with most of the millionaires in Germany in those days. And people, this was the time when electricity came also, and the cutting and machine was easier. This was a good time. So, and the darkest time for us, and what I learned from my father and grandfather, was actually the time during the two wars, and between the two wars. And then a good time was actually after World War II. Again, in 47, 48, it started what we call the economic miracle in Germany, Wirtschaftswunder. Yeah. Everything started in a nice way, and it's like this up to date, because business is not bad. We are satisfied, but business is more difficult. But with the beauty we are selling it, and with the push which gives us always time, there will always be business. And for Ida, there will always be business because of the knowledge people have, and because of the service what we are giving, what I mentioned to you before, for instance. And this helps Ida even to survive, to give a good service. What we do, the stones we are cutting, they have not changed much. Because for us it's very important to do the right preforming and the right cutting. But I see a big advantage in mass production, small calibrated stones, like 2, 3 millimeter, 5 millimeter round, which you can cut with machines. And also there is a big change or a push in stones, like for the watch industry, the glasses for watches. And this has changed technology a lot. We are not doing this, it's not our line. But I know from friends, they are doing this business, they are very successful, and they it's all bought in Ida and still stays in Ida. This because you need expensive machines and knowledge. But this has changed the business, but it not so much. It has not affected our business so much because of the stones we are doing and the better line, better end. But technology will be. We are not sleeping. We'll watch it closely. Our business, business in generally, it was speeding up because of technology. Not so much for our particular company, but for other companies, they are doing in these watch classes and so on. They do very well, and it's good for Ida because it makes people coming here, and people know we are a center for stones in any kind of shape or whatever it is. Yeah. No, synthetic we don't touch. And we sell, even our customers, they know that we give a good service, but we are not giving service for synthetics because you cannot mix it. That means the stones we are handling, you cannot mix it. That's my opinion, and we don't want to do it. Treated stones, they are in the market like blue topaz and so on, and everybody knows it's treated, but it's accepted. That's accepted in the market. Yeah. Daughters, I mentioned here, I have put daughters because there are some companies that the daughters are in, and even now, Thomas's two daughters, they joined us 2 years ago, after studying and so on, and they love it. They like the business and they like the people, and this business, what I like in the business is very much the people you meet, including you two guys. You meet interesting people worldwide, and all the time you always have new customers or new suppliers and so on. And you meet interesting people. That's what I like very much so. And also the beauty, of course, the beauty of the stones and that always surprising beauty in the stones. That's something which makes me still working today, even at my age. Not all the people studying or go to school here in Ida, they study later and stay in the big cities. This also happens. But many companies, they still have father, daughter, father, son, and because of the experience. The experience, some things I know and I want to keep this in my family, and we don't have to spread it. So this is the main thing why you keep certain things secretly in the family, and you use your knowledge. It's a Paraíba tourmaline. Yeah, it's a Paraíba tourmaline, a 20 carata, which went to England later, and but we had to sell it because we also paid a lot of money for it. But it was an outstanding stone. It was from Brazil, Brazil origin, clean, which is rare. Most of the Paraíba, they have inclusions, and this was really one of the highlights I have seen in my life. Yeah. I guess it's a law. Yes, there is something where, and people were not allowed even to move from here and to start somewhere else. It was you could have a big punishment, but this was a law. It was a law, and it was not after after Napoleon. All these laws they were vanished. Yeah. I think so. If we continue, for me, one of the main things is the service I mentioned before. And there are places in the world they're also dealing in stones, but they don't give this service. They are not interested. They are not interested in giving a service. But we are used to that, and we know it gives us an advantage to stay ahead of many things and to go on. I think so. That will stay here because of also because of the family thing, and there is so much knowledge, and we should not give up. There are in Brazil they just scratch the surface. I would say even in Africa there are places, but in Brazil, a friend of mine who used to run a mine very successfully in beryl and aquamarine, and these are simple people, and they work there for a week, and then they go to their home, to their family, and then they go to the pub, the public pub, and they say, okay, I was very successful last week, I mined this and this and this. Next Thursday, the environmental people are there and they're closing the mine. This is a very big thing happening, especially in Brazil today. And that's why production is so low. In gold, there is no problem because they've always get rid of the gold, even the way after the table and the black way and so on. And but in stones, it's not so easy because you cannot invest so much in a mine. It's not a big. You are not a millionaire because you found a few kilos. But this makes things in Brazil. That's what my Brazilian friends are telling me. Makes things very difficult, and that is why the shortage in stones from Brazil. In Africa, it still goes on. In Paraíba, it's a problem. But in generally, there are stones. But you know, the problem is also, I did not mention this because I didn't want to be too complicated. You can mention it in your article or not. I used to go also for about 20, 30 years to Pakistan. And when they bombed the hotel, my son and I always stayed. 15 years ago, the family said, no more. We are not going anymore. And we bought interesting stones and so on, and big companies in the world, they have decided not to touch these stones anymore. Because, you know, it's not our philosophy against women and all these things, what happens there, and I'm not going there anymore. We are missing the material from there, but we don't need it. We can survive without this, but it's a change because the people I was dealing with, they were okay. I never missed 1 gram of stones I bought there. And they trusted me with the money because the money always comes through a money changer and so on. But I feel sorry that I cannot go there, but the family has decided not to go anymore. This is also a family thing, you know, Robert.